Most people know our history, that we started with the Pro 1 back in the early 80s. It was a very popular keyboard. It was used a lot in recordings. A lot of people still have them and still use them. I could think of one person nearby. And then a few years ago, we came out with the Pro 2. It really wasn't like the Pro 1. We kind of advanced a lot of things, which is what we like to do. We don't want to keep building the same things. So now we have the Pro 3. And again, it's not like a Pro 2. It's a completely different instrument. There are a few things that are similar, but the basic sound is quite a bit different. I'm going to start with single sawtooth, which sounds kind of boring, but even then, it can sound pretty good. We have continuously variable selection between triangle to saw to pulse, but then even then we have shape mod. So between the two of these, if I could get quite a range of sounds. Separately and new on this thing is our wavetable oscillator, Oscillator 3. It has all the same shapes as these, so we could play it polyphonically or paraphonically, but we have 32 sets of 16 wavetables. So in each set, the 16 wavetables are all matched, so you could smoothly modulate between them. So let me pick a simple one. So here's one where I could just, here's another example. So we also have a 32, this is kind of a sidestep, we have 32 depth modulation matrix, but it's really easy to use. You don't have to look in the menus, you don't have to do anything. If I want to say, okay, I want the source to be the slider, I want the destination to be that shape mod I was just turning, and I turn up a certain amount of it, and I don't even have to look over here because it doesn't matter. So now, this is now controlling that. So I can go to different. So you kind of get the idea. I'm not going to go through all 32 wavetables, but any of those, like that shape mod, could be modulated from an LFO, from an envelope, from the sequencer. Everything is just so controllable and easy to set up. So the next big thing about the Pro 3 is our filter section. So let me just go back to, we have the three most interesting and historic filters in one instrument. The first one is the Prophet 6/Prophet 5 filter. The second one is a classic ladder filter. And the third one is the OB6/SEM filter. So in one instrument, you cover all of that sonic territory, which kind of makes this, one synth that does it all. And I know everybody says that this is the last synth you'll ever have to buy, but there's a little bit of truth to that on this guy. So we have a drive control, so you can pump it a little bit more, and I could just switch filters that easily. And I go over to state variable and put it on high pass. So as you can see, it's just real fast to switch the sounds, the filters, and cover all that ground. Beyond that, 3 LFOs, 4 envelopes, dual effects. We had the control voltages in and out, 4 of each, like the Pro 2. And that's really nice because they're programmable per program. And they run at audio rates. So you could take a oscillator from your modular unit and plug it in and run it through as either a control signal or as audio. You could take outputs from the sequencer. It's got 16 tracks, so you could actually have 4 CVs coming out of the sequencer to go to your modular gear, and et cetera, et cetera. You could do all that crazy stuff. So it makes this instrument just the best controller for a modular synth because it's got its own sound engine, and the two instruments can interact in such a way, and it's crazy. So speaking of the sequencer, super easy to use. If I want to record something, It's that easy. So I can go reverse, forward reverse, or random, which is kind of fun. If I want to rest, easy. If I want to tie, easy. If I want to have slew, I have continuously variable swing. What's really cool is if you want some other control to be in the sequencer, you just hit record. So if I want cutoff, it's that easy. If I want distortion, or if I want, how about tuner feedback? I think you get the idea.
Yeah.
So you could just, that easy, and it automatically assigns things to the different tracks, so you don't have to think about that much. Do you have any questions, or I can go on to some other sounds?
Well, with the sequencer, so you've got the ability to run CV out and so sequence your modular, bring that back in as audio then, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Well,
So
from the sequencer, it would be stepped control voltages.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you could also take oscillator 1 and put it out to a CV.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
it's
any of that.
It can be audio, or it can be a static control voltage. I could route the slider to go out to one of the control voltages.
Very cool.
Yeah,
okay.
so it's super flexible. I'm going to play this sound. We took the word sequential, and we broke it up into little steps for the 16 waves, because it's a wavetable. And if you sweep it, you get, which is kind of fun. So the first thing you'll think is, well, that's kind of, it's cute, sure, it's funny, but it's totally useless as a sound. But you don't have to play it that way. There's a sequence in here, I'll show you what I mean. That's using the same wave, but it's completely different. So you can go bonkers with it. It doesn't have to be used in that particular way. Another sequence. Now, I didn't mention ratchet. We have ratchet on every step. You can hear it, obviously, in this sequence. That's a bit of extreme. Extreme there. I don't know if I mentioned that it's 3-part paraphonic. And one thing, we always like to point out, it doesn't always have to be the same sound on every note. I can change octaves, which kind of makes it fun. You can even change the wave shape. So you could do a lot of things with that. That's actually different than a polysynth, because some waves you could do more when it's paraphonic. So, and you could record paraphonic sequences, of course, so they could play.
Oh, each has different note then? Okay.
Yeah, so that's always fun to do. This one, I should mention, we have 3 kinds of sequences. The first one we played was a normal. You hit play and it plays, and you hit stop and it stops. This one's gated, so. And we have it right here, so when you change programs, you know what's going to happen. Trigger is just hitting, every time you hit a note, it goes through. So if I just start this guy up. Change the filter. Just to show it's not all aggressive, noisy sounds, which I tend to like. We could have nice, soft sounds. Oops, let me go back. But you can, and I could play a sequence. Oh, I also didn't mention that we have 4 sequences per program. Each one is 16 notes, and you can, of course, string them along. So this one is actually a 64-note sequence. And so it's, still playing kind of nicely, but you might want to, tear your speaker cone a little bit. That low note that's playing is not actually an oscillator. It's the tune feedback. We had the tune feedback that we've had in original Evolvers and a couple products since, and which is always fun to play with. Anyway, that's just a little bit of playing around. I could do it for days. We have 500 programs in here. But
well, can you tell me a little bit about the connectivity on this then?
Well, sure. We have the, of course, MIDI in and out. We have USB. We have the control voltages we talked about. We have a gate out also to control modular synths. So, yeah, it's pretty complete. We don't like the idea of having 20 jacks in the back, with one going to cutoff, one going to resonance, and so forth, because it just seems inefficient. We like the idea of having the programmable in and out, so you could use fewer jacks and do a lot more. Circuit boards, all the controls, everything exactly the same between the 2 units. So we wanted something that maybe a little more sexy, a little kind of sit nice in the studio, more fun to look at. But then you could obviously save some money by getting the standard edition, which costs actually a lot less than the Pro 2 did. So it's nice to give options, and we've actually been surprised. The initial orders we're taking from everybody, we thought would be a lot more of the standard editions and just a few of these. Well, it's almost equal. People see this and they say, that's the one I want.
Pretty sexy.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And we've talked to a few artists who tour a lot, and they say, well, I'm going to have this one in the studio and I'm going to tour with that one. And, that's fine with us. We'd be happy to sell as many as you want.